poor single mom, crashes a millionaire's Lamborghini. Those are the first words neighbors shout as the chaos unfolds. A dented minivan, a torn grocery bag, a trembling apology, and a luxury car shining like it owns the whole street. People gather fast, phones rising, whispers spreading, and every stare lands on her like a verdict she never asked for. She keeps repeating that she will pay, even though everyone knows she can barely afford tomorrow. The millionaire steps out, silent, unreadable, and the crowd leans in as if waiting for a punishment. But what he says next, no one expects. Before we start, tell us from which city are you watching from, and don't forget to drop your thoughts at the end. Enjoy the story. Emily Carter started her morning the same way she did every day, trying to outrun time. She rushed out of her tiny second-floor apartment, juggling her daughter's backpack, her lunchbox, and a stack of bills she didn't have the heart to open. Her old minivan coughed twice before starting, rattling loud enough to wake the whole row of worn-down units behind her. The neighbors barely looked up. They were used to the sound of something on the edge of breaking. She pulled into Westbridge Plaza, an upscale part of town she never visited unless she had to. Glass storefronts gleamed. Valets stood tall in neat uniforms. Every car around her looked polished, expensive, untouched by life's wear. She kept her head down as she hurried into the bakery where she worked part-time, hoping no one noticed the rip in her jacket sleeve or the tired slump in her shoulders. But people noticed. A woman in a tailored coat stepped aside as Emily passed, as if poverty were contagious. A pair of teenagers laughed at her minivan, parked between their spotless cars. Even the bakery customers gave her that practice smile, the one that said they saw her, judged her, and moved on before she took up too much of their space. Emily didn't give them anything back. She didn't have time. She tied on her apron, pushed loose hair behind her ear, and began serving pastries to customers who barely muttered thank you. She worked fast, hoping to finish early so she could pick up her daughter from school without being late again. But fate had other plans. One wrong step, one unexpected moment, and her quiet world was about to collide, literally, with someone from a life she never imagined touching. Emily was wiping crumbs off a table when a soft voice spoke behind her. "You look like you've had a rough morning. Sit for a second." She turned to see an older woman she'd only served a few times before. Gray sweater, gentle face, eyes full of the kind of understanding Emily rarely received. Emily tried to smile it off. "I'm fine, really. Just busy." But the woman slid a warm blueberry muffin across the table. "On the house," she said quietly, even though Emily knew employees weren't supposed to give or receive free food. "Eat it before someone sees." Emily hesitated. A simple muffin shouldn't have meant much. But kindness always hit harder when life had been unkind for too long. She sat down, hands trembling, just slightly, and took a bite. It tasted like someone finally noticed she existed. The woman didn't ask questions. She didn't pity her. She just placed a small, folded note beside the plate. "For later," she said, then slipped out the door before Emily could say thank you. Inside the note was $5 and a message scribbled in shaky handwriting. "You matter more than the world knows. Keep going." Email folded it carefully, not realizing how much she would cling to those words before the day ended. Emily stepped outside during her short break, clutching her phone, hoping for a moment of quiet. Instead, she found a tall man kneeling beside her old minivan, staring at the loose bumper as if it were a puzzle he intended to solve. She froze. Can I help you?" He looked up with an easy grin. "I'm trying to figure out if this thing is held together by screws or sheer willpower." Emily let out a laugh she didn't know she had in her. Mostly willpower, and maybe a prayer. He stood, brushing dust off his jeans. "Name's Ryan. I work down the street. Your bumper was hanging a little low, so I thought I'd see if I could prop it up before it decides to fall off completely." "That obvious, huh?" she said. "Only a little, but hey, I admire the commitment. This van has clearly survived more battles than I have, period." Emily shook her head, smiling despite herself. "If it starts talking, I'm quitting everything, period." They shared a quick laugh, light, unforced, the kind of moment that made her forget how tired she was. Ryan tightened one last piece and stepped back, period. "There, it should hold for now, period." Emily felt a warmth she hadn't felt in months. Connection, easy and unexpected, with someone who didn't look down on her at all, period. Ryan walked away from Emily's van with the same relaxed smile he'd shown her. But the moment he turned the corner, that expression faded into something quieter, something he kept hidden from most people, period. He stepped into the underground parking level beneath the tall office building where he worked down the street. But he didn't head toward the employee section. Instead, he walked straight to a secured area illuminated by soft overhead lights. A guard nodded respectfully as he approached, pressing a button to open a private gate. Inside sat rows of luxury vehicles, sleek, flawless, worth more than Emily's entire apartment building. Ryan stopped in front of a black Lamborghini with a shine so sharp it reflected everything around it. He placed his hand on the roof as if touching something familiar, not precious. This was his world, but he never wore it. Most people in town knew the Harper family name. Real estate developers, hotel owners, philanthropic faces on local billboards. Ryan, however, had spent years avoiding that spotlight, working quietly on his own projects under a different branch of the company. He didn't enjoy how people changed their voices when they learned who he was. How kindness turned into calculation. How conversations shifted into opportunity. He wanted real connections, the kind not built on money or fear of it. And Emily, she hadn't treated him any differently. She joked with him the same way she might with a friend at the bus stop. She didn't try to impress him, and she didn't flinch when he got close. Her guard wasn't about him. It was about life. He saw it in her tired smile, her worn jacket, the way she tried so hard to make everything look fine. He admired that, more than he knew how to explain. But she had no idea who he really was. And for now, he intended to keep it that way. Over the next week, their paths crossed more often than either of them expected. It started with small things. Ryan showing Emily how to tighten a stubborn screw under the minivan's hood. Emily teasing him for pretending he knew more than he actually did. He laughed, admitting he watched a tutorial 5 minutes before walking over. She laughed too, surprised at how easy it felt. One afternoon, she taught him how to fold bakery boxes without ripping them, guiding his clumsy fingers until he finally got it right. "There," she said. "Not bad for someone who thinks a bumper is a personality trait." He grinned, proud and slightly flustered. Another day, he helped her practice questions for a job interview she was terrified to attend. He sat across from her at a park bench, tossing her gentle corrections and encouragement whenever she stumbled. "You undersell yourself," he said softly. "Stop doing that." In return, she showed him how to make the perfect iced coffee the bakery regulars always requested. When he spilled sugar everywhere, she burst into laughter so genuine it startled them both. Between these moments, small lessons, shared jokes, quiet encouragement, they built something steady, something growing, something they couldn't name yet, but both felt in the spaces between their words. It was late evening when Emily stepped out of the bakery. The sky fading into a soft blue-gray. Ryan was waiting by her minivan, hands in his pockets, shoulders relaxed, the way they only were around her. She wasn't surprised to see him. He often lingered near closing time. But tonight, something felt different. Quieter. Heavily quiet. "You walk out of this place like you're carrying the whole world," he said gently. Emily let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Feels like it some days." He nodded, as if he understood more than he could admit. "Want to sit for a minute?" They settled on the curb beside her van. Cars passed, people talked, but for a moment, the noise faded, leaving only the soft hum of streetlights and the faint smell of warm bread drifting from the bakery vents. Emily rubbed her hands together. "I know I complain a lot. I'm just tired, trying to hold everything together." Ryan glanced at her, eyes steady. "You don't have to hold it alone." Something warm tightened in her chest. No one had said that to her in years, maybe ever. She looked at him, really looked, and saw the softness in his expression, the quiet sincerity he usually hid behind jokes. "I don't know why you care," she whispered. He swallowed, a flicker crossing his face. "Maybe I care more than I should." The words hung between them, fragile and dangerous. Emily's breath caught. She opened her mouth, maybe to ask what he meant, maybe to say something she wasn't ready to hear herself say. But a distant car horn jolted her back, breaking the moment just enough for doubt to slip in. She looked away. Ryan did too. Neither spoke another word, afraid that if they did, everything would change. 2 days later, Emily's world tilted the moment she stepped outside the bakery and saw Ryan talking to someone she wished she'd never see again, Mara Turner. Mara had gone to high school with Emily, the kind of girl who treated popularity like currency and anyone beneath her like clutter. Life had only polished that attitude. She now wore designer coats and a smirk that never softened. Mara stood close to Ryan, laughing too loudly, brushing imaginary lint from his sleeve. Emily froze, clutching the bakery bag she planned to give her daughter. She tried to slip past unnoticed, but Mara's voice cut through the air, like it always had. "Well, look who's still playing worker bee." Mara's eyes dragged over Emily's apron and flour-dusted shoes. "Didn't expect you to end up in the fancy part of town." Emily forced a tight smile. "Just finishing my shift." Ryan stepped forward. "Mara, this is Emily." She, clean and humiliating. "Enough," Ryan said firmly. But the damage was done. Passers-by had already turned their heads. Emily's face burned. She mumbled an excuse and hurried away, ignoring Ryan calling after her. She made it around the corner before her throat tightened. She'd known better than to let herself feel something for a man so clearly out of her league. Mara hadn't shown her anything new. She'd just reminded her of a truth Emily had tried to forget. Someone like him, someone like her. They didn't mix. Ryan spent the rest of the day replaying Emily's expression, hurt, embarrassed, shrinking into herself the moment Mara opened her mouth. He knew Emily wouldn't answer his calls, not when she felt cornered, so he did the only thing he could think of. He went behind the scenes. Before sunrise, he drove to the small auto shop near Emily's apartment, the one she'd mentioned she was avoiding because the minivan needed repairs she couldn't afford. The mechanic, an older man with grease-stained hands, recognized Ryan's last name the moment he heard it. A discount suddenly wasn't enough. The man practically bowed. Ryan held up a hand. "No favors. Just fix everything on the van. Quietly. No notes. No names." The mechanic nodded, understanding the weight of secrecy. Ryan paid for the full repair. Brakes, tires, engine work, alignment. More than Emily's monthly rent. It barely dented his account, but for her, it would change everything. He left the shop as the sun climbed over the rooftops, feeling oddly nervous. He didn't want credit. He didn't want gratitude. He just wanted her life to feel a little less heavy. But he knew this kind of secret never stayed hidden forever. and when it surfaced, it would either bring them closer or break them completely. Emily arrived at the auto shop the next afternoon with a knot in her stomach. The van had sounded worse that morning. She feared the repair bill more than the breakdown itself. She rehearsed how she'd ask for a payment plan, even if it meant cutting groceries again. But when she stepped inside, the mechanic greeted her with a bright grin. All fixed up. Runs like new. Emily blinked. Already? But I didn't approve anything yet. He scratched his chin, avoiding her eyes. Well, someone already handled the bill. Her heart stalled. Who? He shrugged, far too casually. Guy said not to make a big deal. Just take care of you. Emily stiffened. Only one person came to mind. Only one person who'd been close enough to notice her struggling. What did he look like? She pressed. The mechanic hesitated, then gave a description. Tall, dark hair, confident but quiet, exactly like him. She stepped back as if the floor shifted. Ryan? She whispered. The mechanic frowned. Harper? Yeah, that's what he signed. Her stomach dropped. Harper. The name hit like cold metal. She knew it. Everyone knew it. Wealth, power, real estate empires. People who lived in another world entirely. Emily rushed outside, the truth crashing over her. He hadn't just helped. He'd concealed who he really was. The kind smile, the jokes, the easy warmth. They were real, but she felt suddenly foolish for believing they were equal. When Ryan approached from across the lot, relief spread across his face as if he'd been hoping to bump into her. Emily, wait, let me explain. She backed away, voice cracking. You lied to me. He froze. I never meant to. You let me stand there feeling small, while you stood there knowing exactly who you were. And then you pay for everything behind my back. Her hands trembled. You made me charity. His expression broke, but she didn't let him speak. I trusted you, she whispered. And then she turned, walking away as Ryan stood powerless, realizing the truth had shattered them both. Emily made it home before the tears finally came. She shut the apartment door, leaned her back against it, and slid to the floor. All the weight she had been carrying, the bills, the long shifts, the embarrassment, the moment with Mara, and now Ryan's secret, crashed down at once. She buried her face in her hands, feeling foolish for letting herself believe someone like him could see her as anything more than a project to fix. Her daughter peeked out from the bedroom, but Emily forced a smile and told her to finish homework. She couldn't let the pain spill onto anyone else. Not her. Not ever. Later that evening, Emily stepped outside to breathe, but instead found Mrs. Green, the elderly neighbor who often watered plants along the walkway. She took one look at Emily's blotchy eyes and didn't ask a single question. She simply sat beside her on the concrete steps, hands folded calmly in her lap. Life hit you hard today, Mrs. Green said softly. Emily nodded, voice trembling. I feel stupid. I trusted someone I shouldn't have. Someone who wasn't who he said he was. The older woman tilted her head. Or maybe he didn't say who he was because he wanted you to see him, not his name. Emily swallowed. He paid for something big without telling me. It made me feel like I was... She struggled for the word. Like I was nothing. Mrs. Green's voice stayed warm. Kindness isn't humiliation unless you decide it is. Sometimes people hide their truth because they're afraid it will change how the world treats them. Emily blinked, unsure. The woman continued, the question isn't whether he made a mistake, it's whether you're letting fear write the ending for both of you. Emily looked down at her hands, the ache still sharp, but the seed of doubt, the kind that questioned her certainty, not her worth, began to take root. Emily found Ryan behind the bakery after closing. leaning against the wall as if he'd been waiting for hours. When she stepped into the alley light, he straightened immediately, hope flickering in his eyes. She kept a few feet between them, arms crossed, heart pounding. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" she asked, voice steady but fragile. Ryan swallowed. "Because the second people hear my last name, they change. They treat me like something I'm not. You were the first person in a long time who talked to me like a real human. I didn't want to lose that." "That's not your decision to make," she said. "You took away my choice." He nodded slowly, pain settling across his features. "I know. And I'm sorry. I should have trusted you with the truth." Emily stared at the ground, struggling to form words. "And the van? Paying for everything behind my back?" "That wasn't charity," he said quickly. "It was me trying to fix something I saw hurting you. I didn't do it to make you feel small. I did it because I care about you more than I planned to." She shook her head, tears threatening. "But you didn't let me handle my own life." "I know," he said quietly, "and I hate that I made you feel that way. But I wasn't trying to rescue you. I just wanted to make your load a little lighter." Emily looked up at him, vulnerable, exhausted. "I didn't need you to save me, Ryan. I just needed you to be honest." For a long moment, neither spoke. Their breath mingled in the cool evening air. Finally, Ryan whispered, "Tell me what to do and I'll do it. If you want me gone, I'll disappear. If you want the truth, I'll give you every part of it. Just don't walk away without letting me fix what I broke." Emily's chest tightened. For the first time, she didn't know the answer. Emily didn't forgive him that night. But she also didn't ask him to leave. Instead, she needed space, real space, to understand what part of her hurt came from him and what part came from years of feeling unworthy. For the next few days, Ryan kept his distance. No surprises, no gifts, no showing up unannounced. Instead, he tried something unfamiliar to him: patience. He sent one message every evening, short, respectful, never demanding a reply. "I hope your day wasn't too heavy. Your van sounded good this morning. I'm here when you want to talk." Emily read every message, even if she didn't answer. Slowly, small moments began to stitch them back together. One morning, she found him outside the bakery, not hovering, not pushing, just holding a bag of her favorite pastries. "Peace offering," he said with a tentative smile. She hesitated, then accepted. Another day, she caught him volunteering at the community center near her apartment, quietly helping kids with homework. He hadn't told her he'd be there. That made it matter more. Bit by bit, her anger softened, not because he tried harder, but because he tried differently. One afternoon, they walked side by side through the park, while her daughter played nearby. No jokes, no flirting, just honest conversation. He admitted he'd been hiding behind his last name for years. She admitted she'd been hiding behind her fear just as long. "You don't owe me perfect," Emily said finally. "Just the truth." Ryan nodded. "And you don't owe me gratitude. Just a chance." The words settled between them, gentle and real. As her daughter ran back to them with grass-stained knees, Emily met Ryan's eyes. Not fully healed, not fully decided, but moving forward, together, one careful step at a time. Spring came early that year, and with it, the kind of quiet hope Emily hadn't felt in a long time. She stood outside the community center she'd grown close to, smoothing the edges of the job offer in her hands. Full-time coordinator, steady hours, real benefits. For the first time since she could remember, her future didn't look like a storm she had to outrun. It looked like a road she could finally walk. Ryan appeared beside her, hands tucked in his jacket pockets. "So," he said softly, "are you going to tell me the good news, or should I guess?" Emily held up the paper, trying not to smile too hard. "They hired me." His face lit up, genuine pride shining through. "I knew they'd see what you're capable of." She laughed under her breath. "I didn't, not until recently." They walked toward the playground where her daughter was spinning on the carousel, squealing with joy. The sun dipped low behind the trees, casting warm light over everything. Soft, golden, forgiving. "Ryan," Emily said quietly, stopping him with a hand on his arm. "I want to start over. Not pretend the past didn't happen. Just start from the part where we both tell the truth." He turned toward her, eyes searching hers. "All right, here's my truth," he said, voice low. "I've fallen for you. Not because you needed help, or because I felt responsible, but because you're strong and stubborn, and you make me want to be someone better." Her breath caught. "And mine?" She stepped closer. "I've been scared. Of you, of us, of what it means to trust someone again. But I don't want to run anymore." Ryan brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, fingertips trembling. "Then don't." Emily rose on her toes, closing the distance between them. The kiss was soft, certain, the kind that felt like a beginning. Not a rescue, not a sacrifice, but a choice. With her daughter laughing nearby and the future open in front of them. Emily finally felt it. A life she wasn't just surviving. A life she was allowed to love. Thank you for listening to this story. Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us which moment resonated most. Don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories from Echoes of Hope. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content. Stay with us for the next inspiring journey.